An 11-foot alligator pulled a woman underwater on Florida's Lake Kissimmee in broad daylight in May 2025 in a recreational zone visited by thousands every week. She did not survive. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission confirmed it by that afternoon. This was not a remote swamp. This was familiar water. And Florida was not the only state where something like this happened that year. Across America, a pattern had been forming, one the data makes difficult to dismiss. The science behind it surfaces in the next segment. The easy explanation is that this was an accident. A territorial animal, a kayaker in the wrong place, a statistical rarity. It was none of those things. It was not an accident in the sense that it was unlikely to happen again. It was not a statistical rarity in the sense that it stands alone. And it was not a territorial animal acting outside its normal behavior. What happened at Lake Kissimmee was the visible surface of something much larger, a documented, ongoing reality in which apex predators and human beings share the same water, the same trails, and the same residential edges, and the predators are not retreating. Florida alone recorded 442 unprovoked alligator bites between 1948 and 2021, according to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, a number that has risen with nearly every decade as both human population and gator population have grown in the same corridors. But alligators are only one thread in a much wider fabric. Across the Gulf Coast states, through the Carolinas, across the Pacific mountain ranges, and north into Alaska, the apex predators of the American continent have been present in human-use landscapes in documented numbers for years. In the Great Plains, wolf packs have established territories closer to ranch boundaries than at any point since the mid-20th century. In the Intermountain West, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, mountain lion encounters with hikers and trail runners have been logged at a pace that wildlife managers describe as consistent and undiminishing. In the southeast, the American black bear is expanding its range into suburban counties in Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina, with conflict reports rising each year. And in the far north, in a village on the coast of the Bering Sea, 2 people died. Wales, Alaska, February 3, 2023. A polar bear, an adult male in poor body condition, moved through the village and killed 2 people before wildlife officers responded. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game confirmed the bear showed no evidence of rabies or any other tested disease. It was not sick, it was not diseased. It was a healthy apex predator that walked into a human settlement and killed. These are not clustered in one region or one ecosystem. They are distributed across the country, and they are documented. To understand why these encounters keep happening, and why they keep escalating, requires understanding what these animals actually are and how they actually work, not how wildlife programming has framed them for the past 40 years. Start with the mountain lion, Puma concolor, the most widely distributed large predator in the Western Hemisphere. Its range runs from the Canadian Yukon to the southern tip of Patagonia, and in North America, it never fully disappeared from any Western state. Researchers tracking puma populations across California, Colorado, and the Pacific Northwest have documented what biologist Mark Elbrock, who leads the puma program at Panthera, has described as an animal whose range plasticity, its ability to survive in degraded, fragmented, and human-adjacent habitat, far exceeds what early models predicted. Mountain lions are not wilderness animals that occasionally stray into human zones. They are habitat generalists who will use whatever terrain provides cover, prey, and movement corridors. Deer move through suburbs. Mountain lions follow deer. That is not a metaphor. That is a documented ecological sequence. The American alligator, Alligator mississippiensis, presents a different but equally documented dynamic. Its population crashed through the mid-20th century due to hunting and habitat loss, leading to federal protection under the Endangered Species Act in 1967. It recovered, dramatically. By the early 2000s, Florida's alligator population was estimated at over 1 million individuals. 1 million ambush predators in a state where human residential development has pressed into nearly every wetland corridor. Wildlife conflict was not a possibility. It was a mathematical outcome. The grizzly bear occupies a narrower range than it once did, but within that range it has been recovering steadily since the 1970s. On June 2nd, 2026, a grizzly bear charged a hiker on Glacier National Park's Grinnell Glacier Trail and fractured his arm. The National Park Service confirmed the encounter as a surprise contact, meaning the bear did not stalk or pursue, it reacted to proximity. Surprise contacts between grizzlies and hikers in the Greater Yellowstone and Northern Continental Divide ecosystems have been studied extensively. The data shows that as grizzly range expands southward and westward, the probability of surprise contact in mixed-use backcountry increases in direct proportion to trail use. The shark is the most documented predator threat in American coastal waters. The Florida Museum of Natural History, through its International Shark Attack File, recorded 25 confirmed unprovoked shark bites in the United States in 2025, including one fatal bite in California. These are not anomalies. The International Shark Attack File is the longest-running database of its kind, with confirmed records stretching back to the mid-20th century. The pattern it shows is not randomness. It shows geographic consistency, seasonal concentration, and a clear correlation with increased human water use in known shark habitat. The bear numbers are perhaps the most striking, because bears are the predator most Americans believe they understand. Black bears, Ursus americanus, are widely considered non-aggressive, avoidance-oriented, and easily deterred. That understanding was current for much of the 20th century, when black bear populations were suppressed across most of the continent. It is less current now. In the spring of 2025, wildlife officials in Florida confirmed the death of an 89-year-old man near Jerome as the first fatal Florida black bear attack recorded in state history. That is not a small distinction. It means that in a state where black bears have coexisted with humans for generations, the first documented human fatality just occurred in living memory. One data point does not a trend make, but context does. Black bear populations in the American Southeast have more than doubled since the 1990s. In New Jersey, a state most people do not associate with bear conflict, the population went from under 200 in the 1970s to an estimated 3,000 today, producing hundreds of annual conflict reports and multiple serious maulings. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife has tracked a steady increase in human-bear conflict incidents across the Sierra Nevada foothills, where residential development and drought have pushed bears into foothill communities year-round rather than seasonally. In 2021, a study published in Scientific Reports analyzed over 900 large carnivore attacks on humans across North America and found that attacks by bears, mountain lions, and wolves had increased significantly over the prior decade, and that the increase correlated not primarily with predator population growth, but with increased human presence in predator habitat. The study's authors, including researchers from the University of Calgary, described this as the interface problem. The place where human land use and predator range overlap has expanded faster than either population alone would predict. That framing matters. It means the problem is structural, not episodic. It will not resolve between incidents. The coyote, Canis latrans, is the most widespread and least understood of America's large predators in the context of human conflict. Coyotes have colonized every contiguous state and most major metropolitan areas. In October 2009, in Antigonish County, Nova Scotia, just across the northeastern border from Maine, a 2-year-old child named Taylor Mitchell was killed by coyotes while hiking alone on a trail in Cape Breton Highlands National Park. It remains one of the only documented fatal coyote attacks on a human adult on record, and it fundamentally changed how wildlife managers in the northeastern United States view coyotes that have lost their fear of people. In Massachusetts and Connecticut, where eastern coyotes, a hybrid of coyote, wolf, and domestic dog genetics, have established stable populations, wildlife agencies now classify unprovoked coyote approaches to adults as a high concern behavioral indicator. These animals are not pets gone feral. They are efficient, adaptable predators who have successfully colonized the same suburban landscape where most Americans spend most of their outdoor time. The wolf case is the most politically contested and the most clearly documented simultaneously. Gray wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone National Park in 1995, after a decades-long absence from the American West. By 2023, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service estimated the northern Rocky Mountain wolf population at over 2,000 individuals spread across Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana. Colorado completed its own reintroduction in 2023. Wolves had returned to Oregon, Washington, and California through natural dispersal years earlier. And with that recovery came documented livestock depredation and a small but real pattern of wolves testing boundaries near people. In 2002, in Alaska's Denali National Park, a pair of wolves followed a group of cross-country skiers for more than a mile. The Park Service documented the encounter, but classified it as investigative behavior, not predatory. Wildlife biologist Gordon Haber, who studied the wolves of Denali for more than 4 decades before his death in 2009, argued that wolves which lose their avoidance of humans do not typically announce the transition. The behavioral shift, he wrote, happens incrementally and is often only recognized in retrospect. That observation has not been disproven by subsequent events. This is the skeptic's natural objection, and it deserves a direct answer. The objection goes like this. The number of fatal predator attacks in the United States each year is vanishingly small compared to deaths from domestic dogs, from bee stings, from lightning. Statistically, wild predators pose negligible risk to the average American. And on those narrow terms, the objection is correct. It is also largely irrelevant to what the data is actually showing. The question is not whether a given individual is likely to be killed by a mountain lion on a given Tuesday. The question is whether documented encounter rates are rising, whether predator behavior in human-adjacent habitat is changing, and whether the institutions responsible for tracking these changes have the detection systems to see them clearly. On all 3 counts, the answer is complicated, in ways the simple statistical dismissal does not address. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, in its most recent assessments of large carnivore management, has noted that human-predator encounter reporting is deeply inconsistent across states. Dependent on whether a victim files a report, whether local agencies forward it, and whether it meets a threshold for federal logging. Wildlife biologist Christopher Wilmers, of the University of California, Santa Cruz, whose research has tracked puma movement across California's human-wildlife interface, put it directly in a 2016 paper in PLOS One. Lions using developed areas are largely invisible to conventional monitoring methods. If that is true of mountain lions in California, one of the best resourced wildlife management states in the country, it is more true of bears in rural Georgia, of wolves in the forests of Minnesota's Boundary Waters region, and of sharks along the less surveilled stretches of the Gulf Coast. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, is a cliché for a reason. It describes exactly the detection problem facing wildlife managers trying to characterize a moving, nocturnal, forest-adapted predator across hundreds of thousands of square miles of mixed-use terrain. There are no cameras on most trails. There are no sensors in most wetlands. There is no mandatory federal reporting system for non-fatal predator encounters. What gets counted is what gets reported. And most encounters, the ones that end with a loud noise and a retreating predator and a shaken hiker who drives home in silence, are never logged at all. On the morning of May 6, 2025, a woman launched a canoe on Lake Kissimmee in Florida. The water was still. The day was clear. She was in a place where people paddle every week of the year, in a state that manages its wildlife rigorously and publishes its data transparently. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission confirmed the attack and confirmed the animal, 11 feet, 4 inches, an American alligator operating well within its documented range, its documented behavior, and its documented habitat. The agency's investigation found nothing unusual. No prior history of aggressive behavior toward people had been recorded for that animal. No environmental stressor explained its approach to a surface-level target in open water. It was, by every official measure, an encounter that should not have happened in a lake that experienced kayakers used regularly. And yet the Commission's own database contains 442 documented unprovoked bites, stretching back to 1948. A database that has never shown a decade of decline. What is documented at Lake Kissimmee is not a mystery in the sense that its mechanism is unknown. The animal's behavior is understood. The habitat overlap is understood. The population numbers are understood. What remains unresolved is the question that the woman on the canoe did not have time to ask. In a landscape that looks managed and familiar and safe, how many of these encounters happen without a report, without a file, without a number? How many times does the water stay still?